Hello, good morning, and welcome to the channel. If you did not know already, my name is Kubeir, and I am a CICC licensed immigration consultant. And we do this every Saturday morning, where we bring you in live. We bring you the updates of whatever has happened in the last week or in this particular week with regards to Canadian immigration news, updates, and whatever has been happening or anticipated within this immigration journey. So without further ado, I would complete my short presentation, sort of take you through different PNPs, what has been happening with the draws, and from there on, we'll do a short discussion about different things that have also been happening or something that we can anticipate. And from there on, then we will head over to the question and answer session, your questions, my answers, and that's how this will roll. All right. Okay, starting as usual with the quote of the week. It's not what happens to you, but what you do with what happens that determines your life and your future. And so what are you going to do today about whatever has been happening? Nobody has taken the credit for this, so I'll just put it as anonymous, but I find this so much of value. It resonates so much. We really sometimes just do not, we give credit to the things that are happening, or rather we blame them for the things that are happening, but never about what we should be doing about what's happening. Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. Stay up to date on Canadian immigration news and trends. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. And starting with the January PNP draws and basically a roundup of them. Alberta conducted, I think, 3 different draws this particular month, rather month of January, or 2 draws actually. They conducted a draw earlier in December, but that was announced and published in January. And then they have conducted a draw on the 5th of January. Actually, they have conducted another draw, I think, about last week, where 356 candidates were invited. But overall, this is how Alberta has already started the year. They have started inviting. As usual, they do not announce any knock codes in advance. So therefore, that always is a mystery for everybody. So if you receive an invitation from Alberta, well, then consider yourself lucky. British Columbia also invited candidates through their British Columbia Skills and Tech stream. They invited 714 candidates in the month of January. Manitoba held 2 draws last month on the 14th and the 27th of January, and they have invited candidates through skilled workers in Manitoba, overseas, and education stream. A total of 758 letters of advice to apply were issued. PEI, Prince Edward Islands, as usual, holds its draws, or rather conducts its draws once a month. They're pre-scheduled, so you can always find their calendar of the draws on their website if at all you're interested in that. And the first draw was on the 20th of January. 121 people were invited. From there on, Ontario has been quite active. Ontario is a province that most of us look forward to in terms of, because there's so much of excitement there. It's one of the provinces that does not need job offer for the PNP program. So there are a lot of aspirants who find that Ontario is the key to their dream to making Canada their home. So Ontario in January held 3 different draws. The first one was on the 11th, where they issued 1,084 invitations. This was primarily for people who had a job offer in Canada under different streams. January 12th, the province held a draw inviting 502 applicants or candidates under 18 different NOC codes. This was their generic draw or under the human capital priority stream. And then on the 27th of January, Ontario then invited 1,032 candidates, and this was for the skills trade stream. Skills trade has largely been ignored by ExpressEntry almost now 2 years. They haven't conducted any draws. So that is one category in the ExpressEntry which basically doesn't get any love from ExpressEntry at all. So it's good that Ontario finally recognized and invited 1,032. I think that the scores, the range went right down to 360s, if I'm not wrong, around that range. In total, Ontario has already invited or sent out notifications of interest to 2,618 candidates in January. Pretty good, huh? Then in Saskatchewan, province held 2 draws in the month of February. On the 6th, they held a draw in the entrepreneur category, inviting 51 candidates. They do have a specific entrepreneur category or a business immigration stream, whereby you file an expression of interest, you indicate how much money you're going to invest. Based on your scores, you will be invited to apply, whereby then you can submit your application. On the 13th of January, they also then held a draw through their 2 subcategories, which is ExpressEntry and OID, and they invited 104 candidates there. So now what has been happening with PNP? On 18th of January, in the second draw, Alberta invited 350 candidates with the lowest score of 346. As I've already told you, they do not disclose any knock codes. So that is always a mystery. We only come to know what the knock codes are when people come out and talk about it. British Columbia, then on the 1st of February, they have invited 126 people, and this was under the tech BC PNP tech draw, which is also pretty interesting. The lowest score was only 80, which is again quite, it's not bad, 80. When you get a score of 80, I think most people do get invited in that particular draw. Quebec Arima also conducted a draw. 27th of January, they invited 322 skilled workers to apply, and the minimum score for this one was 647 points, which is quite high. But at the same time, they also had a criteria whereby they invited only those candidates who had a valid job offer from outside the Montreal metropolitan area, which is, it usually is quite difficult. But you see, there were 322 candidates there. So yeah, it's happening. What's happening with ExpressEntry? Well, on the 2nd of February, as we were expecting, I think it's no longer a mystery. It's no longer something which we speculate. We almost sort of have it now, that Canada invited 1,070 ExpressEntry candidates, and this was through the PNP specific draw. So when we say PNP specific draw, it's not a specific knock code. It is not specific provinces. It basically means everybody who received a nomination which was linked to ExpressEntry, they received 600 points, and therefore they became eligible under this draw. The lowest score was 674. And before somebody here jumps on and says, how can someone get 74 as their score? Well, people do get 74. It's absolutely possible. We have explained that before as well. Last year, 13th of February, there was a CEC draw with the lowest score of 75. So if you have 1 year of Canadian work experience, if you have CLB 5 as your language score, knock B, and that absolutely makes you eligible under Canadian experience class. Of course, the work experience has to be in Canada within the last 3 years. So that makes you eligible under Canadian experience class. And yes, therefore, you can absolutely be eligible and get those scores. You can actually go as low as 5960 points. That is also possible. You can have an ExpressEntry profile with 5960 points with 1 year of Canadian work experience, CLB 5, and that is somewhere where the score is going to be sitting at. I mean, that is considering you don't get any points for age, any points for education. That's where you'll be sitting, 5960 points. This was 1070. This was the largest draw that they've held, obviously this year and anytime previously, because this was the largest number of people they've invited under the PNP program specific draw. In other news, do we have other news? Oh yeah, we do. A new application tracker has been announced. Now, what are we talking about? This new application tracker, well, I'm not sure how many of you were tuning in, but Sean Fraser conducted a press conference. I think it was Monday last. And was it Monday last? I think it was, 31st of January. And amongst a lot of other things that he discussed, and you can always check my other video where we did a detailed review on all the things that he spoke about, and we're going to talk about it in a bit as well. And he indicated that in February they would be announcing application tracker. Now, the first reviews of this application tracker, and you can obviously check out the IRCC website, and I will post the link below after I'm done with the video today, so that if you wish, you can check out this application tracker. This application tracker is only, at this point of time, only for spousal sponsorship applications. So actually, not spousals only. Even if you have sponsored your children. So if you are a permanent resident or a Canadian citizen, and you have then sponsored or you have applied for permanent residence for by sponsoring your spouse, your partner, or your child, then this would be the tracker where you can track the progress of your application. I haven't seen good reviews so far because a lot of people are saying this is nothing new. They already had something what we refer to as the ECAS system, and they were getting similar, they're getting similar updates. So this is nothing new that they could not access or they could not see. Uh, well, I was hoping it was not going to be a gimmick, but not that it is a gimmick. I think it's just a step forward in them trying to provide a more comprehensive information by way of application processing. ECAS at some point ECAS at some point of time is going to get phased out. It is part of the old system. So I guess by them announcing the new application tracking system, they are just heading into the right direction by giving you that access, and at the same time also trying to justify at least that they're doing something about giving you more information about into the digitizing of the whole process. Because as we move forward, paper applications from spousal sponsorship applications will be phased out, and as that will happen, ECAS, you might not get more information because ECAS is also going to get phased out. And then the new portal where you can submit your PR applications will get linked to the new application tracker system, and hence you will have more information there. So that's that. What else have we got? Oh, well, that's the end of the presentation. You can most definitely connect with us on social media platforms. We are there almost everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and now also on TikTok. Please do follow us. We love to see the numbers going up. I mean, who doesn't, right? And yeah, that's primarily the presentation. And if you're still here, then please, by all means, hit on that subscribe button. As I said, love to see those numbers going up. For some reason, our numbers are not going up. That's never a good sign. But love to see those numbers going up. And if you think the video is of some interest, some value, then also share and hit the like button so more people can get access to it. Now, what else have I got for you? I have got a couple of other things that we want to talk about. I'm not sure how many of you are already aware or have heard of EntryExit Program. So for people who are in Canada or who have been in the know or who have been visiting, who have visited, they are aware that so this is also related to the fact that is soft landing in Canada allowed? Because in the heat of COVID, in the peak of COVID, IRCC had come out and very clearly indicated that if you are coming to Canada for discretionary purposes, please don't come. So, which also included that if you're coming to Canada only to finalize your applications, then they were discouraging people not to come to Canada, which basically indicated if you're coming for soft landing, skip it, don't come. Okay. It wasn't prohibited. Never did they prohibit this, because this is mainly largely controlled by CBSA, the Canadian Border Services Agency. So therefore, this question is quite prevalent as to, is soft landing allowed? So yes, absolutely, soft landing is allowed. It's because as of right now, discretionary travel is also allowed. And if discretionary travel is allowed, soft landing, absolutely, you can. So what does soft landing mean? Soft landing basically means that you come to Canada not with the intention of making, of establishing or settling your permanent life in Canada at this point of time. So you have been approved with your permanent residence application. You want to come into Canada. You want to activate your status. You want to now become permanent resident, because you do not become permanent resident until and unless you have arrived in Canada with your PR immigrant visa and you have activated your status, which basically means the border officer is going to ask you a few questions, like basically statutory questions. Do you have a criminal record? Have you been involved in anything unscrupulous? Do you have any health condition that they should be aware of? Is there any change of family circumstances? Once you answer no to all of these, they sign, you sign, voila, welcome to Canada. You are now a permanent resident. From here on, obviously, your TikTok clock starts of 5-year residency obligation, whereby you must reside in Canada for 2 years. But a lot of you do not want to make that move just about yet. You may have certain obligations. You may still need to wrap your employment. You may need to wrap up your job. You may need to sort of, say goodbye to family, friends, which you didn't really, because you had to rush and get this thing done because probably your visa was expiring, or you just simply needed to get this out of the way. While in these cases, a lot of people would then just stay for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, 10 days, and then go back. Okay, this is soft landing. So you have landed, you have become the permanent residents of Canada, but you haven't really started your life in Canada, or rather you haven't settled permanently. So yeah, this is absolutely fine. This is absolutely allowed. On the contrary, if you're coming from the US by land border, you can actually activate your status, then go ahead, take a U-turn, go back to the US, and it's absolutely fine. There is no issues with it. The only I think the issue sometimes what happens is that the border officer, if they ask you, are you coming here to settle down permanently or not, or is this just your visit right now? And if you indicate no, or for example, you tell them you don't have an address and because you're returning back in the next few days, well, in that case, what happens is that they may not initiate the application of your permanent resident card, which then basically means it will not be processed, you won't receive it. And in that case, whenever you are now going to return back to Canada, you will now need to get PRTD, permanent resident travel document, from the embassy in your home country, Canadian embassy in the home country. And if you're coming by land border from the US, you can obviously hop into your car, use your COPR, which has been stamped, activated as your proof of residency, and you can drive right through. You don't really need a PR card that way. But these are the options with soft landing. And part of this is also because a lot of people are worried, are they going to ask me, why did I not say this? Why are you going back? Why can't you stay more? Are they going to question me? Well, to those people, there is no exit immigration in Canada, right? So there is nobody at the airport who's standing with some sort of, authority and saying, you came as a permanent resident few days back. How dare you go back? You cannot go back. So wonderful. So there are no restrictions on your travel. You can actually leave the same day, same hour if you want to. No problem with that. As I said, there is no exit immigration, and you usually check into your flight, clear your security, board the aircraft, and hasta la vista. So moving forward from that, I wanted to talk about the EntryExit program that actually was initiated in 2019 and is now going to take more formal shape. And what I'm trying to say to you guys is that because there is no exit immigration in Canada, Canada was not tracking people who were exiting the country. So you could say you entered the country, but because there is no record of exit, there was always that question mark. When did you leave? Are you complying with your residency obligation? So a lot of people were committing fraud. There have been a lot of cases of fraud as well for people who were claiming to be inside Canada as part of their residency obligation when they were not, so that they could continue being outside but also enjoying the benefits of being a permanent resident. So those issues, also people who would file for sponsorship, because a permanent resident in Canada, when they file for sponsorship of their spouses and partners, then the primary residence has to be in Canada. So again, they were leaving. There was no control there. With all these things in mind, in 2019, Canada started sharing the travel records with the US, and so therefore they had a bit more of an eye on it. But moving forward, this is now becoming a permanent program, EntryExit program, whereby Canada or IRCC and CBSA will have much more better and a broader insight as to the entry and exit for different passengers coming in and out of Canada, different travelers, different people. This way, they'll be able to keep much more stricter eye on who's leaving, when they are leaving, when did they come. So there will still be no exit immigration. So if you're thinking there was going to be an exit immigration, no, there's still going to be no exit immigration. This would just be the data that they would receive, one from United States. So for people who are entering US through the land border, that data will get shared with Canada, so they know that they've exited from Canada. And for people who are flying out from Canada by air, so all the airlines will now have to share all the traveler data with Canada. And the last date for compliance, I think, has been indicated as November of 2022 as the final date when the airlines have to start complying. Most airlines are already complying. They're already now sharing the data. This is now coming to them. So what this will do is, as I said, people who are in compliance or not in compliance with the residency obligation, they would obviously have to be more mindful. Temporary residents or people who are in Canada on a visit visa, work visa, study permits, if you are going to be overstaying your welcome here, then that would also now be on record, and in future it will create a bigger issue for you whenever you re-enter Canada. Similarly, spouses who are residing in Canada and they're submitting their application for spousal sponsorships, if the requirement is for you to be in Canada, for example, an in Canada applicant or an in Canada sponsor, then again that is something which you have to be mindful of. So this was the entry exit program. The entire compliance from the airlines would be by November. So this year, at some point of time, this will become much more stricter and in effect. So that was one aspect. Second is, again, talking to you a little bit about Sean Fraser's press conference. The press conference that happened on Monday, 31st of January, most was about backlogs. And I know a lot of you are still wondering when the draws will happen, when the CEC draws will happen. What's the update about CEC draws? Well, Sean Fraser was categorically, explicitly asked about Canadian Experience Class and Federal Skilled Worker as to when the draws will be and what are they doing about it. And both the times he just went around the questions, didn't really answer them at all. But he did confirm very specifically that yes, the draws are on pause and they will continue to be on pause until they have cleared majority of their inventory. Now, that then also validates the internal memo that we have spoken about, which was released on which was dated 24th of November and released on the 19th of January by Stephen Murins, the good friend, and where it was very, very clearly the memorandum between the internal departments of IRCC, where they requested for the draws to be put on hold until they could clear more of the inventory. Now, as far as the inventories is concerned and the backlogs are concerned, Sean Fraser did touch upon that, did speak in detail about that. In the year 2021, they cleared 500,000, or rather, they made decisions on 500,000 permanent residence applications. They intend to be doing something similar this year as well. But more importantly, and this is again, and I'm going to go with the fact that if they're going to give us a number, then they better be serious about it, because Sean Fraser very specifically mentioned that in the first quarter this year, they are looking to clear 147,000 he said applications. Now, it could mean files, it could mean applications, it could mean people, because that is always the question mark as to this 147,000, because one application could have multiple people, right? The spouses, the partners, the children. So if it is 147,000 applications, that number of people being cleared could be much, much, much higher. So I'm going to go more conservative, and I'm going to say 147,000 people will be cleared by the first quarter this year, which is again good news, because this is double the number that they cleared in 2021. Also, I'm sure most of you are already been seeing so much of movement. I think last 1 or 2 weeks, we have been seeing some good movement in terms of people receiving their medical requests, their additional document requests, their police clearances, updated proof of funds, and of course, a lot of you getting your passport requests as well, including from New Delhi Visa Office, including FSW Outland. So there's that lot of heartfelt movement there, something which you can really see. And I know there is this frustration about the fact that a lot of 2021 applications are being cleared, whereas 2019, 2020 are on hold. Well, it's not about that they are on hold. IRCC has their ideology or their thought process whereby they are. So this is what they say is the best way of coming to the pre-pandemic processing levels, which is that while they are clearing the old applications, the newer applications, they want to try and match to their processing time, which is 6 to 7 months or 6 to 8 months at pre-pandemic processing times. So therefore, we are seeing a lot of 2021 applications actually getting processed between 6 to 8 months, which is pretty cool, but not so cool for people who have been waiting from 2018, 2019, 2020, and really, really frustrated with this. All I can say is that there is big spotlight at the end of tunnel, and I think we're just turning around the corner here. And if 147,000 people being cleared is anything to go by, because he said first quarter ends 31st of March. So I'm assuming that in the next 2 months, we should see many more people getting their approvals and their files being processed. So again, very, very good news. But when we say 147,000, what are we talking about? This is what we are talking about. Okay, now let me bring this here. Okay. Now, when we say 147,000, that is not only express entry, that is a combination of several different permanent residence applications. What I have in front of you is the economic class backlog. This is not humanitarian and compassionate. This is not spousal sponsorship applications. This is not your the other permanent residence applications, for example, business programs, self-employed, caregivers, your startup visa. So this does not include those yet. Okay. Now, actually, it does include some caregivers, but these are mainly the economic class programs. It does include the caregivers. It does not include your spousal sponsorship. Now, when he said 147,000, he basically just said PR application, which could basically mean a lot of these categories. So you have the agro-food pilot, Atlantic immigration pilot, Canadian experience class, of course, Canadian experience with no express entry, federal self-employed, okay, then your skilled workers, express entry, outside express entry, live-in caregiver programs, provincial nominations, paper applications, Quebec investors and entrepreneurs, rural northern immigration pilot, skills trade, TR to PR. Those TR to PRs, those who already have their AOR. So this list is as of 15th of December, and you could see 234,770 were pending at that point of time. So again, to reiterate, if we are going to see 147,000 being cleared, that a chunk of that would be from this number. A chunk would also be from the spousal sponsorship applications. And don't anticipate only express entry getting cleared, because there is more to permanent residence than just express entry. So this is the background in what you should be aware of in terms of what's happening, because this way you have a much better insight. Now, there is something else I wanted to share with you as well. What is also happening in Canada from the last few days and weeks is the Freedom Convoy. I'm not sure how many of you have heard about it, but Canada already has the vaccine mandate, and United States also has a vaccine mandate, whereby if non-Americans are going to enter United States, they have to be fully vaccinated. So similarly, Canada also has a similar mandate, whereby if you are coming to Canada, then you need to be fully vaccinated. And this was put in force earlier. The truckers, now Canada has huge number of truckers. And when I'm saying truckers, means people who drive long haul, because between US and Canada, there is a big economy, business economy, which is being shared. And the logistics industry is really massive. If you drive in Canada, then you absolutely cannot miss a truck, because there are like tons and tons of it all the time, because they go back and forth from the United States. As I said, a lot of trade is happening all the time. But with this vaccine mandate, a lot of people were not happy about it, especially the truckers. Earlier, they were exempt. Now, very recently, they were no longer exempt, which basically means they had to be vaccinated. A lot of people were not happy. It has now become a question of whether it's freedom of rights, and if they do not want to be vaccinated, why should they be forced? And I am not pro or against. It is what it is, kind of a thing. But what that has done is, now the protest, this is something similar. It's not exactly at the same level to what happened as the farmers' protest in India, in around Delhi. It's not the same thing, but it's pretty intense. And to do that, I will, it's good to sort of get a bit of a glimpse of what's happening, because this is part of how life can be in Canada. So this is part of that.
2022, Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Now we're going to Parliament Hill. Come on board. Come for a walk. Come see some trucks. See the action. I fixed my glitchiness that I was having and pixelation issues I was having. Looks like it's data issues. I went and bought 15 gigs of data. So
was he on the side of the oppressors? Never ever. They might say, Pastor, that's
children back from standing off for the precious freedom that you've given us. Father, our children of having left the foundation.
Real story. Deal. Do it. show the world what's really happening.
Right. So let me just shut this off before it. Okay. So this was just a bit of a glimpse of what's been happening in Ottawa, or rather what was happening in Ottawa. This protest, which is also being referred to as the Freedom Convoy, and yeah, this was happening in Ottawa. It was a nightmare with thousands and thousands and thousands of people and truckers who had basically descended upon the city and totally held a total, as we say, chakka jam kind of a thing, or total deadlock to the city. This protest at this point of time is now moving towards Toronto. So Toronto downtown has absolutely been barricaded. It's absolutely been locked down at this point of time because of the same issues. So yeah, something that you should know, that it's not like protests and these things don't happen in Canada, and sometimes they can get a bit ugly. If you were to read whatever has been happening out there, you will see that some of this is getting a bit out of hand. But I hope the authorities are doing what they are supposed to do in terms of keeping everybody safe, and hopefully everybody would go back with whatever they think is the right thing that should happen. As I said, I'm not the one to give my opinion on this. So that basically is what has been happening in the last week in Canada, in the field of immigration, in the field of life basically in general. And from here on, if you're still with me, then you think the video is of any value, hit the like button, smash the like button so that it gets shared with more people get an exposure to this video. And at the same time, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, then here, hit the subscribe button so we can see those numbers going up as well. From here on, we move to the next segment of today's live, and that is our question and answers, because that's what we do, right? Okay, going out with the first one, Purnendu. Thank you, Purnendu. 474 CRS, learning French, 9 more months. Should I apply ExpressEntry now? After EE expiry, apply for SDS. Please clarify dual intent. Well, you are at 474, then I guess at this point of time, until the federal skilled worker draws resume or start, it's very difficult to say how long it's going to take, or when the draws are going to sort of, the scores are going to drop. And this is going to affect a lot of you out there, because you're all sitting in that big segment between 470 and 480. I think there are about 15,000 people who are in that segment, probably more. But the thing is going to be, a lot of you are now also on the edge of whether you should come to Canada to study, whether you should wait for the draws to happen. Well, if you are studying French, that's a good thing. That's a great thing, because you can add additional points to your score, which obviously will help you at later point of time as well to find jobs in Canada, because being bilingual will always be of more advantage. So learning French any day, in addition to getting score increase, is also very good for your employability. That is one. Number two, if you're on the edge about wanting to come to Canada to study, I would suggest, if you are in the high scores of in the 470s plus, I would say just wait a few more weeks, days. One is, we are expecting some news to happen in the second week of February, towards the 14th of February, probably early, and that is when Sean Fraser is going to make public the immigration levels plan for 2022, 23, 24. Now, this year's immigration plan is supposed to be 411,000 people. Will that number be increased? Will that number remain the same? Will they cut down on the FHS, Federal High Skilled, which is also going to include the ExpressEntry? That is going to define in a big manner as to how the rest of the year is going to pan out. Yes, they will. I'm sure they will clear 147,000 people by the first quarter. I'm absolutely sure about that, because that's the way all things are indicating. And would they resume the ExpressEntry draws? That is something which we have to wait and watch, because there is no more speculation. We all know that it's on hold. It will remain on hold until they clear the inventory. Now, when they say clearing the inventory, do they mean clearing 147,000? That's when they resume, or do they wait for more applications in the ExpressEntry to be cleared before they can resume the federal skilled worker draws or the all program draws or Canadian experience class, which could probably be towards the second half of the year, or probably early if they can clear a big chunk of their backlogs. Again, as I said, no speculations there. We are just going to wait and watch in terms of when that happens, because that's how it has been. Now, Should you apply for SDS? Of course, if you're eligible, apply for SDS. SDS is always going to be helpful. Should you apply for student? I will say just wait it out at least till the 14th Feb when the announcements are made with the with the immigration levels plan, because that would give you a better understanding of how the draws are going to pan out in future. If the numbers are cut down for FHS, federal high skilled, then know for a fact that as and when the draws will resume, whenever the draws resume, the number of invitations per draw is going to be small. And if the number of invitations per draw is going to be small, that would directly impact the scores. It basically means the scores are not going to drop very quickly anytime soon. Therefore, you will be in a better position to plan. So I think by 14th of Feb, you can make the decision. It's not too far away. That's number one. Number two, as far as dual intent is concerned, if you have an ExpressEntry profile, it doesn't necessarily indicate dual intent because it's only an expression of interest. If you have a permanent residence application in progress, then obviously you have an intention of absolutely coming to Canada as a permanent resident, and you also want to come and study, so you can express dual intent. If you still have an ExpressEntry profile and you're worrying about dual intent, what you can do is you can simply indicate that you have or you had an ExpressEntry profile where you did intend to sort of look at options in Canada for permanent residents. However, since that is not working out, you have shelved the plans. You now want to concentrate on studying and then from there on returning back to your home country so that you can do better with the kind of exposure you get while studying in Canada. I hope that helps. Dharmavik says, another question, I do not know what the first question was, so we'll just go with the other question. Is job obtained during PGWP can be taken as a job offer to add ExpressEntry profile PNP? No. When you're working on a postgraduate work permit, that job does not give you the 50 points. In order to get 50 points, then you will have to have few conditions that need to be met. First one is that you have an LMIA, approved positive LMIA. LMIA along with a job offer, you will be eligible to claim 50 points. Or if you are in Canada on an ICT, intra-company transfer work permit, then you complete a period of 1 year with the employer with who you are working. So it doesn't apply to ICT only, it applies to all other categories where you are LMIA exempt, but your work permit is closed. Okay, postgraduate work permits are open, so you can work for any employer. So if you are in Canada on an LMIA exempt work permit, where your work permit is closed to the employer, you need to complete 1 year of work experience. After that, you may be able to claim 50 points, provided some other conditions are also met. One of the conditions is that your employer gives you a job offer, which indicates that this job offer is valid for 1 year after you become a permanent resident. This clause is extremely, extremely critical. A lot of people have had their applications refused because this clause was missing, which basically makes their job offer invalid. So in order for this job offer to be valid, you need to comply with these conditions. As a postgraduate work permit holder, unfortunately, you will not be eligible unless you meet these other two conditions as well. Okay. Oliver says, I did my medicals on the 24th of October 2020. My PR is now being processed. How long will my copper be valid? Very important for submitting job resignation within 3 months period. Well, I can't tell you. And the reason I can't tell you is because I do not know how long your medicals are going to be valid for. Technically, IRCC would give the expiry date of your visa under which you can enter Canada for your permanent residence or your permanent immigrant visa to be 12 months, give or take few days, depending on the day it was your medical results were uploaded to the IRCC portal. So you'll have 12 months from that date by which you will be given your expiry date for your visa. Now, because of the COVID, they have been extending medicals for people, in ExpressEntry, especially if you're outside Canada. Now, the expiry period, or rather the extension of the medical period that is being given, is anywhere from 6 months to 12 months, depending on which country you are residing in. So you could have got a 6 month extension, you could have got a 12-month extension. Also depends whether you have an extension based on the fact of what was your original medical assessment. So these are so many different factors based on which I can't tell you what will be your validity of your copper. I would suggest just always wait, receive your passport request, send your passport for stamping. Once they have finalized your visa, they have printed your visa, your counterfoil has been printed, you will get an update in your IRCC account, which will then also indicate until when your visa is valid. That would give you an idea. Based on that, you can then make a decision about resigning and moving to Canada. You've waited for so long, there's no point of rushing now and then making a mistake with that. So hold a few more days, few more weeks, few more months till you get your application approved, and then you will be able to make that decision. I have a query about birth certificate. Is it mandatory or not? Well, birth certificate is mandatory in ExpressEntry for children. For dependent children, you definitely need to provide a birth certificate. If you are updating IRCC in change of family composition, then your spouse, partner, children, their birth certificates also need to be provided, mandatory. If you're filing a permanent residence application, which is paper application, a birth certificate may be required. Check your checklist. If you are filing for spousal sponsorship application or partner sponsorship application, again, birth certificate is a mandatory requirement. I think I've covered all applications, most application types. Muhammad Lishan says, my credit card got declined when paying for my ExpressEntry application. I fixed it, paid again for it in few hours, but couldn't check if all my info like personal history, work experience was correct. Should I be worried? I am not sure what you're saying. Okay, so you tried to submit your application. I'm hoping that when you were trying to submit your application the first time, your credit card got declined. By that time, you have already checked all the information. Okay, so from there on, if it didn't go through and then you paid for it again at a later point of time and you were able to pay, then nothing changed. Your information is still the same. Okay, so by all means, the information remained the same. So if you have checked the first time, it did not change, means, so what exactly are you worried about? I'm not able to get that. But you can always go back to your application. You can check the information. How you can check the information? Go to your GCK account, click on view your application submitted. So you will get the list of the documents that you have submitted. It will say these are the name of the documents, file names that you have submitted. Obviously, if you click on the documents, you cannot see the documents, and neither will you see any place where you can find how do I find my application. What did I submit? You cannot, there is no way you can see that. In that case, what you need to do is you need to go to the address bar. So when I'm saying address bar, I mean on the browser where you are submitted, where you're checking your application, on the top where you basically put your www.etc.com or whatever. In that address bar, the last segment of what you are seeing, it would show documents to submit .do. Okay. Replace the last portion, documents to submit .do, with application checklist C capital, no space. Application checklist C capital .do. Okay, when you click on this, your other information will become visible again, and you will be able to see your information you have completed, your personal history, your work history, etc. And you can then validate if you've entered everything correctly. Okay, I hope that helps. Will my TR to PR get refused if I'm outside Canada? I called IRCC. They said you only need to be in Canada at the time of submission. But many websites say different. I haven't received AOR. Okay. What IRCC said when they announced TR to PR application, it was that you need to be in Canada at the time of submission of application and at the time of approval. What it basically means that they will not refuse your application if you're not in Canada. So don't worry about it. If you have to travel, by all means, go in and travel. There is no problem. At the time of approval, they will send you an email and they will tell you that we are about to finalize your application. Please confirm where you currently are. If you are outside Canada, they will not finalize your application. So you can either respond to them and say, I'm outside Canada, and once I return back, I will confirm to you. Or you could hold that responding back to that email for a few days until you can return back to Canada and then respond to them that I am now back in Canada. Please process my portal request and my COPR. So, but do not worry, they will not refuse your application because you're outside Canada. Okay, so please, without any concern, go ahead and travel if you have to. What about CEC draws? When are they expected to resume? Well, we discussed about that in details. Sean Fraser, the immigration minister, very, very clearly circumvented and just went around that whole questions, did not answer that question at all. Even when he was asked that a lot of people are losing their status, and he basically said that the businesses in Canada can afford to employ people from other streams, and they don't have to depend on CEC only. Which was a bit of he's absolutely ignoring the Canadian experience class, or he's ignoring people who are in Canada and losing status. Well, at this point of time, the draws continue to be on hold, and they will continue to be on hold. Now it's not a speculation anymore. They will continue to be on hold until they have cleared the large part of their inventory. And we do not know when to expect. We are hoping and praying that they happen sooner than later, but we'll have to just wait and watch as to when they will happen. Okay, Dina says, I'm in Canada for the last 1 year on work permit. I have a score of 485, eligible for CEC. I'm fearing CEC draws may not happen in 2022. What is your advice for cases like mine? Well, okay. So I absolutely anticipate draws to resume. Not in the near future. When I'm saying near future, I do not, now I don't think they will happen in the next 2 months for sure. It may not happen until March. And the reason why I'm saying it may not happen until March is because Sean Fraser indicated clearing 147,000 people in the first quarter. And if they are holding back on the draws primarily because of clearing the inventory, and until the inventory is cleared, let's say 147,000 people are cleared by first quarter, it would then indicate with this chunk being cleared, they would at least start the federal skill, not federal skill, and they would start the ExpressEntry draws again. That's the first thing. Second thing is we have to wait till the 14th of February to understand what the immigration levels plan for this year and the year going ahead are. And if this year plans do not reduce the number of FHS, federal high skilled categories, which also indicates express entry, then we could expect that the draws will definitely resume, because they will then need to complete that quotas as well. And that is what will happen. Now, in your case, what should you do? Well, try and keep your status in Canada valid. If your work permit is expiring, extend your work permit if it is extendable. Even if it is not, apply for extension. You will get that period on implied status. Once you get the refusal, which you will get, at that point of time, you need to restore your status, change your status to a visitor if you want to continue staying in Canada, or find an employer in this period of time who can give you an LMIA closed work permit, and then you can switch to that employment. Or you can leave Canada, go back to your home country. Because your Canadian experience class, your work experience is valid within the last 3 years, you will continue to be Canadian experience class, and you can still apply under CEC from your home country. So these are the available options that you have. Ritvik says, I haven't got result on study permit extension. I have completed my studies. I have a job, but I can't work even when applying for postgraduate work permit. Kindly advise if there is any solution. Okay, well, on the basis of the fact that your studies are completed, you can now apply for postgraduate work permit application. However, in this particular case, because your study permit was not valid at the time you're making the application for postgraduate work permit, you will not be on the implied status where you can start working. So you cannot start working until you get your postgraduate work permit app. So until your postgraduate work permit is approved, there is no option but to wait. You can continue working. No, you cannot. You have completed your studies, so you cannot work at all. So yeah, you unfortunately cannot work at this point of time. You will have to wait to receive the... If you receive a study permit extension, then you can apply for postgraduate work permit. If you already applied for postgraduate work permit, then you will have to wait for the work permit to be approved before you can start working. No, unfortunately, there is no way out for this. If I apply for spousal visa from India, would I be able to apply spouse open work permit from India and get it approved to stay with my spouse in Canada while my PR application is getting processed? Okay, so spousal sponsorship applications are processed under two classes, different classes. One class is family class, which is also referred to as outland spousal sponsorship, where basically means the spouse is outside Canada, and therefore you're applying for outland spousal sponsorship under family class. The other category is inland spousal sponsorship, whereby the spouse is inside Canada and you're applying under SCLC, spouse and common law partner in Canada class. Both the classes are different. If you are applying for in Canada class, only then are you eligible to apply for open work permit. If you are outside Canada, you are not eligible to apply for the open work permit. There is no way out of this. Still waiting for FSW Outland AOR 2019. IRCC is not working on FIFO. Wait is starting to get depressing. Please send some words of encouragement for FSW folks. Well, first thing is you should stop attaching so much of importance to the decision, or rather to the time when you will get this. Yes, it's going to be a great event when it happens, because this anguish of having to wait would come to an end. I'm sure by now you've already applied for your GCMS notes. You already know that your application is fine. Your documents will get processed. Instead of putting so much of attention or so much of importance to this wait, this absolute anguish, divert yourself into other things. Are you preparing? Why don't you start preparing? Because your application will get processed. If not today, after 2 months. If not after 2 months, after 4 months. If not after 4 months, after 6 months. It will get processed regardless of when it happens. I'm hoping it gets processed sooner, within the next 2 months. That is what has been indicated of 147,000 files being cleared. But start preparing, and the reason why I'm saying start preparing is because, and I have another video coming in a few days, and I'm going to be talking about the first 100 days in Canada. And you guys need to watch out for that video, because actually what happened, I did make that video, and I screwed up. I deleted it by mistake by overwriting it. So yeah, that was a bit of a disaster. So now I have to do it all over again. So what I'm trying to tell you is, in that 100 days video, it hurts because it took me a lot of time to prepare that one. I basically went into details as to how you should plan your 100 days. But forget about the video. Coming to yourself, why don't you get down to preparing your 100 days? Make a calendar. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, If you spend more time preparing, okay, trust me, your mind will be away from this anguish of having to wait. On the contrary, you will start looking at positive things. You will start preparing, because you are preparing for something which is going to come. It's very exciting, trust me. What kind of occupation are you in? What kind of a job will you be doing? What kind of skill sets do you need to do that job? Do you have the skill set? Do you need to upgrade your skill sets? If you have to upgrade your skill sets, is there any requirement for certification? Is there requirement for any licensing? How do you go about getting the licenses? Do you need to do something before you get the license? Does it need an exam? Can you start preparing for the exam? Do you need to get any other evaluations done? Do you need to get any other education verified? Do you need to get any other kind of employment verified? Can you get that process starting? Can you get in touch with the regulatory bodies? There is so much to be done. Trust me, it takes time. Now, imagine you land in Canada and then start doing all these things. You will be paying for all your living expenses while freaking out because days are ticking by. You don't have a job. You want to do something else. Things will start looking a bit more depressing because you're not getting to where you want to be because you did not plan. So my suggestion is, instead of thinking about this FIFO, IRCC not processing, when my decision will come, divert your mind into preparing. Divert your mind into planning. Figure out what are you going to do? How are you going to identify your jobs? Are you going to be doing a job? Are you looking to do some kind of a business? A lot of people put so much of attention to jobs that I want to do a job. I want to do a job because this is a new chapter in your life. How many times do people get to restart their life? How many times do people get to sort of press on the restart button or reset button and start with something totally new? This is an opportunity that you have. Haven't you always thought, or sometimes thinking, if I would have done that again, I would have done it in a different manner? Well, this could be your opportunity to do that. Maybe you are a person who might need to explore your entrepreneur skills or your entrepreneur side of things. And if at all you are that kind of a person, this is an opportunity. If you are partners, you and your partner, okay, one of you could do a job, one of you could look at exploring entrepreneurship as in business. Okay, if you're going to be doing a business, then it needs research. What kind of business? What are your skills? What are your passions? What are your hobbies? As they say, the best business you can do is with a skill for which you can do brilliant with the least amount of effort. Okay, and that basically is your own talent. If you can identify that, see if there is an opportunity for that. See if there is a demand for that. See if you can do something about it. I can go on and on and on and on and on, but are you getting the gist of what I'm trying to tell you? And there are a lot of people waiting for a lot of other questions. I need to get onto them, but I wanted to sort of stop by and tell you that you do not have to attach importance to this decision. This will come. Okay, this is bound to come. The more you wait in anticipation, the longer that period. So the same 60 minutes can feel quick 60 minutes if you're, have something to look forward to. And the same 60 minutes can look very, very painful and excruciatingly long if you keep attaching every single minute to keep checking my CIC account, to keep checking my GC account, to keep checking on Ask Kubeir Facebook group to see somebody else got a PPR. Why didn't I get it? Did I get an update? Did I not do my medicals right? Do I need to do my upfront medicals? Do I need to check my proof of fund? You're putting your focus into wrong things. Move it from there. Look at something more promising, prospective, and then you will suddenly see that this wait is not important. You will suddenly realize you don't have enough time, okay, to figure out all those things before you get to Canada. Meet your friends. You will not be meeting them very often. Check up on your relatives. You will not be meeting them very often. Get your cravings of all different kind of food that you like. You may not be getting to taste them anytime soon once you get to Canada. So do all those things which you might otherwise have not thought that you wanted to, and probably that will help you, get over this wait period faster, better. All right. Oh, okay. Seisha Shai, thank you. I was asked for RPRF that I already paid. This was asked along with the baby's processing fee. Is there any chance my eligibility was passed? Well, to check your eligibility, you will need to order GCMS notes or call IRCC and see if your eligibility has passed. I can't tell you based on RPRF. RPRF is not indicative of eligibility or any milestone per se, specifically. They may ask you for RPRF at different points of time in your application. So that doesn't necessarily indicate whether your eligibility has been met or not. Okay. Kiranjit says, got married recently, couldn't register marriage. What to do? Shall I inform IRCC or not? Okay. I do not know how best to say this. Informing IRCC is not optional. It is not your choice. It is not your discretion. You have to inform IRCC if you get married, if there's a change in your family composition. Okay. The sooner you will do it, the sooner you can start getting your process in order. If your marriage is not registered, register it. You have to get that done at some point of time, because otherwise your processing is going to get delayed even longer. So inform IRCC. They will take their own sweet time to send you the application kit. In the meantime, get your registration for marriage sorted out and do whatever needs to be done. Prepare the application. Prepare the forms that will be given to you. Pay the fee, get your spouse's medicals and your police clearance done, get the marriage certificate process, get the birth certificate. A lot of people have a problem in arranging for the birth certificate. And then prepare the application documents and send it to IRCC. The more you will delay it, the more it will get delayed in the processing of your application on the other side. So absolutely get on with it. I applied visit visa with sponsor on 31st of August. When can I expect PPR? Please, if you applied for visit visa on 31st of August, then my suggestion to you would be to reapply, because the visit visa applications before 7th of September are in an unending spiral of delays. The 6-month service standard is back on the website for ExpressEntry. Would this mean for applications pending since 2020? Any suggestions? Well, obviously, it doesn't mean anything for applications pending since 2020, because if you were waiting since 2020, then the processing times have already gone, way out. As I explained earlier, if you were watching, IRCC has decided that it is better to start processing the newer applications first, or rather simultaneously, while they're also processing the older applications. So there is no first in, first out. While they're processing the old applications, a team will also start looking into the new applications. So the newer applications can look forward to the regular processing times, expect 6 to 8 months. The older applications, unfortunately, will have to go through the journey of the backlog processing as and how they are cleared out. Monida, thank you. My husband is 51 years. I'm 43. We would like to migrate to Canada. Any options for us? It is going to be extremely difficult to migrate at that age. Now, I know there are agents out there, and I get consultations booked every single day with such kind of scenarios. And there are agents out there who will tell you, yes, you're eligible. Yes, this can happen. That can happen. The opportunities and the possibilities are extremely, extremely slim. Now, what would be the options? One, you come to Canada on a study visa. You are 43, you still have an option. You can choose to come to Canada as a student. If you do succeed, it's going to be difficult. As I said to start with, it's going to be difficult. If you do succeed, you obviously will complete your period of studies, and then you have the work permit. You will get complete definitely 2 years program. You get 3 years of work permit. Now you have 5 years. Your spouse is eligible for an open work permit to apply. And within this 5 years, you can figure out a PNP pathway, a provincial nominee program pathway. A lot of provinces have those pathways whereby they give preference to people who are working in their province, studying in their province, have a job offer from an employer in their province, and that age is not an issue there at all. Okay. Most of the Atlantic provinces have great programs where age is not the criteria, but the fact that you are working, living in the province is the criteria, and obviously have a job offer there as well. So study in Canada would be one option. If you can find an employment from an employer in Canada, very difficult. It's like as good as searching for the jinn who escaped from the Aladdin's Chirag. So you'll find the Aladdin's Chirag, you probably will not find the jinn from it because he escaped. So that is akin to finding a job offer from an employer in Canada. But it's possible. It happens. 125,000 people do manage to find jobs each year in Canada from the employers. So it's definitely a possibility. And third would be look at, if at all that is something which is within your area, then look for business immigration options. Each province has a separate immigration option in terms of business. You could look at and see if it is something which you want to do. I checked my info by changing to application checklist, and this seems okay. Excellent. I'm glad you were able to get this sorted out. Okay. Varun says, my friend in US got copper, wants to do soft landing, go back. How can he assign someone to collect his PR card if you don't know anyone? What is the address to be given? What is the procedure? There is no procedure. At the time you will arrive in Canada at the border, the officer will ask you for the address. Provide the address. The PR card, when issued, will be delivered to the address. It is not by courier. It is not delivered to a person. It will be delivered in the mailbox. Once you get the mailbox, once you get the PR card, well, then have it sent to your friend. Yeah, that's how you would do it. Or simply the friend comes to Canada by land border the next time, use a COPR, and then he will be able to claim his PR card from the address, wherever the address was given. Okay. Can you speak on Nigeria student express for study permit? I'm not sure what would you like me to speak about that. Well, yeah, the process times are ridiculous at this point of time, but I'm not sure what you are looking in terms of for me to say about that. Kanan says, happy weekend. I ordered GCMS notes, 3.5 months, no response yet. Any thoughts on when can I expect? Well, you should contact Apply GCMS and ask them what the hell's going on. Yes, there has been delay. The notes have been delayed. A lot of people have not been receiving it on time, but you will need to follow up with people who you applied for. There are a lot of people who have been reporting that it has been taking an excruciatingly long period of time for the notes to get processed. But the delay is only happening because people have repeatedly now been reapplying and applying and applying again and again. So earlier, the frequency of notes being applied was not that high. Nowadays, everybody applies for notes. Sometimes people, I know of somebody who is applying for notes after every 2 weeks. I'm not sure what kind of changes they're expecting after every 2 weeks, but they're doing it. And yeah, that is putting undue pressure on the other side. And yeah, but there's nothing much you can do except by following up with the commissioner on the ATIP side. So Apply GCMS can do that for you. Have them track and follow up on what's happening. One part of Sean Fraser's mandate was to open more pathways for international graduates. What do you see these being? Okay. One of the mandates was to expand the pathways for international students and foreign workers in ExpressEntry. This was what, let me see if I can find that exact. Give me one moment. So that we don't make any mistakes in the interpretation here. Okay. Yeah, I found it. Let's take a look at that. Hold on. All right, here it is, sharing this with you. Let me see. This is the mandate letter that was issued to Sean Fraser. As I'm scrolling down very quickly, remove this so we can see this more. Okay, these were the areas that was spoken about. Continue to bring newcomers. So by newcomers, obviously we are expecting more people outside Canada to come to Canada. Where else have we? Okay, build on existing pilot program. So that is definitely going to happen. Yes. Expand pathways to permanent residence for international students and temporary foreign workers through the express entry system. There you go. I'm not saying it. That's him saying it. That's the mandate letter. So it specifically mentions the express entry system. And this is one of the reasons why I think TR2PR is unlikely to come back. I know there are a lot of, if you go to TikTok, it's the cringe level is unbelievable, but also unbelievable is the cringe level of people who keep making these announcements saying that TR2PR is coming, TR2PR is coming. One of the reasons why I don't believe TR2PR is coming is because there is absolutely no such indication in the mandate letter. And if there is anything to believe, and from what we have been seeing so far, the way Sean Fraser has been acting, he's been coming out on the social media platforms, he's been coming and on the press conferences, and he's been now at this point of time, he's talking about backlogs, he's talking about digitizing, he is talking about improving certain immigration programs in terms of the pilots, and at no point of time is he talking about anything other than what has been indicated in the mandate letter. Even in the press conference he was being met with earlier, he again referred to his mandate letter and what all is included in his mandate letter. So going by that, strictly by that, if I am to go only by that, if I look at this particular first two sentences, and let me make this, expand pathways to permanent residence for international students and temporary foreign workers through the express entry system. So by this, I am only going to assume that they may make changes within the express entry, which would give more benefit to the people who are in Canada. So express entry, as in to international students and the foreign workers. It could be that they increase the number of points that you may get for completing your education. They may conduct only CEC specific draws for a period of time, or they may alternate between CEC specific versus FSW or all program draw. They may conduct a more specific within the express entry draws. So within the express entry itself, they may start identifying specific factors of inviting people. So I do not see anything happening outside the express entry. I see it happening within the express entry only because it has very clearly been mentioned in the mandate letter. And from whatever we have seen in the last 2 to 3 years, whenever you get a mandate letter, immigration minister more or less, or IRCC more or less, is following that path what has been indicated in the mandate letter. So it says expand pathways means, as of right now, there are 3 pathways in express entry. You have Canadian experience class, you have federal skilled workers, you have federal skilled trade category. So federal skilled trade category is also for a lot of people who are in Canada. So, federal skilled trade category is for people who have certificate of qualifications or who have a job offer from an employer in Canada. So therefore they get eligible there. And federal skilled workers, as we know, obviously have no connection to Canada. I mean, they could have studied in Canada, but they do not have Canadian work experience. So they are, a different class. But Canadian experience class obviously has Canadian experience in terms of work experience. They may not have education in Canada. So when they're saying expand pathways, I am assuming and I'm thinking that there could be a possibility of a new stream, or within the same 3 streams, they could further go, deeper into identifying profiles that, yes, if you are a candidate who have Canadian education, then you will be invited for this particular draw. Or if you are a candidate who has work experience in Canada, then you will be invited for this draw. Or if you have a work experience in Canada and education in Canada, then you will be invited for this draw. I'm expecting to see similar situation progressing. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking is probably happening in terms of how this probably will play out. Okay. Missing out on a lot of questions. Sorry about that. We don't have too much of time. 10 more minutes to go. Swati says, my AOR is 14th November. Haven't received biometrics request letter, although I got a ghost update on the 19th of Jan. Any idea why is this happening? Yes, one of the reasons why this is happening is because they put a hold, or rather they put the processing of the initial, or rather the R10 check. So once the application has been received, first thing that happens is that they check for the completeness of the application. If all the documents are complete, that has slowed down, so that the further processing can be slowed down. Okay, that was part of managing the backlogs as well, because the entire attention was more to do with the fact of clearing out people and making them permanent residents in 2021. So now only this, I think last month, we have been seeing more and more people started receiving their biometric instruction letters. So I'm hoping and I'm expecting that you should start receiving yours, or rather you would receive yours probably by next week or a week after that, because I have seen dates of early November or end October getting the biometrics instruction letter. You can also do the IMI tracker. I think there's a website called IMI tracker. A lot of people keep updating their record there. So try following that and seeing if other people who have a similar AOR as yours, when did they receive it, or have they received it or not. That would give you a bit of an insight as to what you can do. Okay, talk about non-express entry new portal timelines. AORs on the new portal is almost 8 to 12 months. That is what we have been seeing. It's taking really, really long for them to complete that. So basically, if you filed a paper application or you filed through the new portal, it's not really been quite different. Once you've received the AOR, from there on, it has been moving again. So yeah, total processing time since you have submitted the application, expect anywhere between 24 to 30 months at this point of time. Really long, but yeah, that's what is happening. Okay, Munisa says, if somebody got their ITA since September 2020, is there the possibility that ITA will open for them in FSW in some months as IELTS is expiring? If you did not get their ITA since September 2020, well, is there any possibility that ITAs will open for them? No. I mean, ITAs do not open for any specific profile who has been waiting for such a long time. First of all, if you're waiting from September 2020, it basically means your profile is already expired. If your profile is expired, you better prepare a new one quickly, number one. Number two, the draws in ExpressEntry did not happen since 23rd of December 2020. So what happened between September 2020 and December 2020? If you did not receive an ITA, it basically means your score was too low to not attract an ITA. So don't expect ExpressEntry to be doing any specific favors or any specific focus that because you were in September and therefore you should get it. No, there is no because you've been waiting for such a long time, so you should get it first. No, it's there is primarily high scoring profiles get first, and that's how it rolls. So if your score is not high enough, then what you should be looking to do is improving your scores. And definitely, if your profile was valid in September 2020, then definitely it has expired. So you need to make a new profile if you haven't done that already. IRCC India Twitter handle posted that general IELTS is acceptable for student visa. Can I use my general IELTS I use for EE application only for student visa application offer letter request? You see, this is not something new. This has been around for almost 1 year. The IRCC India Twitter handle just posted it again, kind of like a reminder. So IELTS General has been accepted under the SDS stream for quite some time now. I think almost a year now. So you absolutely can use the same IELTS you've used for your ExpressEntry applications, no problem, because it's general IELTS, so you definitely can use it. That's number one. Number two, not all colleges accept general IELTS. So you will have to check with the college to see if they will accept general IELTS. A lot of them insist on either academic IELTS or IELTS indicator or Duolingo. So you'll have to check the college admission criteria to see if they will accept it or not. Shri Vaishnavi, I received request letter for RPRF though I paid previously. I uploaded letter of explanation with 1410 CAD receipt. Is this enough? Wife and baby are not accompanying. Are they asking RPRF for them? If your spouse and your child is not accompanying, there is no question about asking for RPRF or application fee for them. In some cases, the RPRF request gets auto-triggered. I mean, IRCC has been in a mess, so these small glitches is quite normal. If you have already uploaded your fee receipt again, that's all that was required to be done. No other action is required. Okay. Dheeraj says CRS 460, electronics, BE, knock 631. What do you suggest to wait for draws or this knock or find any other way? What provinces should I target? Well, for provinces, each province has a different program. So you will need to check individual province to see where you might be eligible and have a chance. 460, in my opinion, doesn't have a chance in ExpressEntry. Not soon, not in the midterm, not in quite some time to come. Unless they start identifying NOC code specific draws, then maybe. But apart from that, the chance you may have would be if Ontario chooses to, pick the knock in the general draw. But then with the way they have been identifying, there is a CRS range. So you have to be in the CRS range for your knock, if at all it's in demand to be picked up. But yes, check individual provinces' website and then based on that, apply. I seriously need help. I submitted my spousal application online today. I randomly checked and I found out that I made a mistake on IMM form 5532. Well, I don't know what kind of a mistake it is and what the implications are. So really, I can't tell you. If you don't have your file number, if you get your file number, upload through web form a new 5532. If the information on 5532 is critical, then your application may be rejected or refused and sent back. In both situations, you will have a chance to redo your 5532. Okay. All right. Arch says, just entered the e-pool, score 478. I can speak basic French. Are there any specific provinces, PNPs, I should keep an eye out for? Well, most provinces are now indicating that they would give preferences to French speakers. Even Alberta said if French is your first language, then you may be in the preference list to receive notification of interest. Saskatchewan is another province which gives additional points for French. New Brunswick has a French speakers, has a new strategic initiative stream. Nova Scotia also is known to identify French speakers and invite them. Apart from that, probably try and improving your scores so that you're at the head of the queue as and when the draws will happen. OINPHCPEE. Spouse got job offer subject to PR, date of joining October 22. Should we raise a web form and hope for faster processing? Getting a job offer does not expedite your applications, unfortunately. You can most certainly try, as they say, there is no harm in trying, but it doesn't really do anything. Arthik Shah says, can you talk about spouse open work permit also in detail so it can help us? If you applied for your spouse open work permit based on your spouse in Canada on a study permit or your spouse in Canada on a work permit. Now, one of the criteria of applying for a spouse open work permit is that your spouse in Canada, their permit, study or work, should be valid for at least 6 months. Only then your permit can be issued. We have recently started seeing refusals because the spouse in Canada work permit has now expiring or coming to within that 6 months, inside the 6 months period. If that happens, then that is going to be very unfortunate. So, and if at all your spouse has applied for an extension or has received a newer permit, study permit or work permit, then make sure you use the web form and upload the new document urgently. Apart from that, there is no way to expedite this. There is no way to push this. We have tried for so many of our clients. We've been sending web forms, but it's just not going anywhere. And it's most unfortunate. But unless you speak to, even if you speak to a member of parliament, and I know there are people who have been talking to their MPs to get something, but MPs cannot expedite an application. MPs cannot influence an application. They can probably get you a bit more detailed status update, but that's just about it. There is nothing much that they can do about the application. But that's basically what's happening with spouse open work permit applications. Nishan says, will last week June 21 air fall under newer application or will it fall in backlog? AOR, okay. Will last week June fall under newer or I don't know. To be very honest, I don't know which ones are under the newer, which ones are under the old ones, which ones will be processed. As I said, there is no FIFO, there is no first in, first out. It's just that we have been noticing that the 2021 applications are being processed faster. That's just about it. But I can't tell you if it is pre-June or post-June or which ones will be handled first, etc. It'll only time will tell as and how the applications start coming forward as to which ones are getting processed earlier and which ones later. Last couple of questions, and I had a rush. Bhagyadeep says, my score is 493. Should I wait for federal skilled worker draws to resume or look out for other options? I think you can afford to wait. 493 is a great score. Student visa would basically means one, September intake, the earliest you can look at, and even September intake is getting filled up very quickly. You might not get seats in most programs. I mean, I know for a fact we have been struggling to get admission for our clients and our students to get into the September intake. The seats are getting filled up quickly. So the following intake would be the Jan intake, and you already have time for that. So I would say just wait it out, especially for the 14th of Jan immigration levels plan. That would give an idea. Then April should also have a bit more of an understanding, because by that time they would have cleared, hopefully, the 147,000 inventory, and from there on the expectations would go up again that the draws should start resuming. I don't think they would wait until the mid of this year to start or resume the federal skill work or the all program draws. I think it will happen sooner, and I'm really pinning my hopes on this 147,000 people being cleared and the new immigration levels plan being announced by the 14th of February. That would give us so much more direction and insight. Right, thank you so much. If there has been any question that I have not responded to, because obviously there are just too many there, then I apologize. Please post your question in the comments. I will come back later today and I will respond back to those questions in the comments. As I said, it's a never-ending stream of questions, and I really apologize if I haven't been able to answer the question. There's only so much time we got to do this for. And as I said, please post your question down in the comments after the video, and then I will definitely come back within the hour or so, or 2 hours, and then respond back to the questions there. Yeah, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We need your support in seeing those numbers going up. Absolutely subscribe and hit the like button, because more and more people then get the exposure to this video. If you wish to make an appointment with me one-on-one, or any of my other members of my immigration consultant team, all of us are licensed immigration consultants, then that is the link. Please, by all means, do. And what else about that? Oh, yeah, Instagram, of course. Follow us on Instagram if you aren't doing that already. And because we tend to sort of post so much more content there as and when that happens. Thank you very much for joining in today. I really appreciate it. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you next time.